had to creep in to bail out these private capitalists, which our Libertarian Alliance people are so lauding. Incidentally, they don't, unlike our supporter of capitalism here tonight, they don't all believe in a continued existence of the state. Many of them would like to see the state abolished completely, so that all we're left to is the laws of the jungle form of private capitalism. And getting round to the laws of the jungle, let's have a look at some of the consequences of private capitalism. The capitalist Holocaust. Now, we all know about the Nazi Holocaust and the monstrous consequences of that between 1939 and 1945. 6 million Jews died and millions of people in the Second World War, etc. What people are perhaps not so well aware of is the continuing capitalist, free market Holocaust, in which it's been calculated that on average about 30 million people are dying globally per year through preventable diseases, through lack of access to clean drinking water, etc. Whereas the United Nations Food and Agricultural Committee has shown 4 years that we could support at least 7 times the existing world's population if the economy were organised on humane, non-profit making basis. And of course, you ain't ever going to get that under a free market economy or under capitalism of any sorts. So I'd be interested to know how our supporter of capitalism apologises for the capitalist Holocaust. And what the capitalist supporters also don't tell you, they never tell you about the recession after next. None of these mainstream politicians or supporters of capitalism tell you about that. They all say, oh yes, in a couple of years' time the economy will be on the up and then we'll have a boom. Then we never hear about the next recession that's going to come along. And the point is that free market capitalism or capitalism run by the state has got absolutely nothing to offer the world's population. It's been one colossal failure. And the capitalist Holocaust, the inequalities, and bear in mind that these people have been suffering under a global economy of capitalism, which goods can be transported to save their lives if the will were there. But of course these people have not got the money. They don't, for the market, they just don't count. So we need to look round for an alternative. And I'm glad to say that there is an alternative to this market madness, and that is the alternative of production for human need. No money, no profits, human beings first.
I wonder if I could just say that I've enjoyed the debate, and I agree with sentiments that you're expressing, and some of Richard's points, with regard to your commitment to abolishing poverty, hunger, malnutrition, these evils of starvation. I entirely agree with that. But is it not the case, or am I wrong, that countries like India or China, South America, billions of people moving out of those terrible conditions through the growth of employment, jobs and business?
I'll just respond to that briefly, but as I pointed out to my statistics about major undernourishment in the world, it goes down in periods and then it surges up again because capitalism can't touch those problems. Relief comes in pockets to some and then others get the thin end of the wedge. Of course, you look at China, which is 1/5 of the world's population, when a lot of the statistics about the diminishment of figures, say, of undernourishment, they are related to China, where there's been a massive industrial upsurge. So again, the figures aren't entirely reliable. The point I make is that, you know, capitalism has had a chance. When I was growing up, it promised time and time and time again that only when it did reach the pinnacle of production, when it did have the technology to deliver these things, that is what would happen. In fact, we see it is exactly what has not happened. It has happened in certain places. It has not happened in other places. And in many of the places it has happened, I regret to say, there were economic and power political reasons.
Does that mean that capitalism isn't bad, but it's our moral view on the world and how we interact with it?
Sorry?
Does what you just said, does that mean that capitalism isn't fundamentally bad? It's the way we use it that we don't.
Not at all. Not at all. I've already said that the mechanism of capitalism cannot solve these problems because it is based upon the need for profit.
What about capitalism with a moral viewpoint?
Of course there are Catholics. Of course there are Catholics. There are Catholics as well come to that with ethics. Of course there are. Of course there are. Only a fool would say they weren't. But I'm saying that those ethics are impossible to come to fruition in a system based upon profit and the exploitation of most people.
But say I'm a capitalist who gives away 95% of my profits to the workers who work for me, isn't that a moral view on capitalism that will work?
But I have some friends who ran businesses who shared their profits. They were still within the system. They still did not touch the kind of figures. How can we live in a world where so many millions don't have access to
So your problem is with human nature?
Am I going to deal with that now? Maybe I'll deal with it in the summing up. That's good, I want to deal with that. Answer that.
Current Chairman, the speaker for capitalism said something, I thought that he said early on, that Marx didn't say much about capitalism, which I thought was a little bit strange, and maybe I misheard him, but his definition of capitalism was a relationship between wage labour and capital. So he gave a very precise definition of capitalism. Now, we always recognise that capitalism has played a useful role in human development. It played the role, the quest for profit was the motive engine that fueled the ability to mass produce, fantastic ability and sell things, make things for sale. But it got to a point where that very quest for profit is now acting as a veto, which is stopping progress. Now, the friend over here said about the production in China and India, this production there is lifting people out of poverty. But you have to look at what is happening. They've joined this treadmill, but what are they making? Factories have been moved from one part of the world to another part of the world, and a lot of the stuff that's being made, I mean, there are several different colours of washing up liquid.